Welcome to another episode of The Practical Metaphysical Journey, the place where practical meets the paranormal, the mundane meets the metaphysical, and the spiritual meets the spooky. A place where we share the experiences of our journeys here on Earth. We encourage you to listen and see what resonates, because we're all different yet the same. We invite you to take a break with us, so unpack and stay a while. We're glad you stopped by for a visit. Welcome back for part 2 of our episode on crystals.
Yeah, like true. That red lava rock, a lot of people use that instead of mulch. Interesting.
It's very absorbing. It absorbs negative energy like crazy, so it makes a great border for things.
Yeah.
And it's funny because your malachite and your lapis that you have, they go way back to Mesopotamian and Egyptian times as really important and valuable and powerful sources for them. So it's really kind of cool. And with the lava, you go right back to the beginning of time. So yeah, it's really nice. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah. So those were the 3 that I chose, and like you're saying, for today. Because if you come to the house, there's a lot of other stuff that's around. And I forget which one of you mentioned it earlier. Same with me. I have like a group of rocks that are now just sitting off to the side that I don't touch anymore, just because I don't feel drawn to picking those up to do anything with them.
No, and stones I would never touch before all of a sudden are reaching out to me. And it's like they each have their own voice. I'm hearing that from them, which is interesting. I'm really getting a language from them.
Interesting. So what do you do if one of your crystals break?
Well, Lisa, a while ago when I was having some very difficult times at a very difficult job with very difficult people, gave me a tetrahedron of green fluorite, and which is supposed to help, bring positivity and absorb negativity, and has a lot of other great sources to it. And the shape itself is supposed to be helpful in redirecting energy and absorbing it and then transmuting it. And I had that with me at work, and it shattered. That thing completely shattered. And I've never seen anything like that. Not just a chip, not just a piece, the whole thing just... So that really fed into it. It reinforced what I knew to be true about my workspace at that time. So just reverently dusted the pieces off and scattered them around the office. I was like, there you go. It's like a burial at sea here. I'll let you go live amongst all this. You protected me, you blew up, and you did give me a replacement piece, and that nothing has ever happened since. And I left that place, and it did its job. I hate to think what was coming at me on a daily basis.
Interesting. So for you in that case, meant it kind of did its job, and it was...
And off it went. Yeah.
Off it went.
Yeah. I don't think I've had to... I did have one chip recently. I didn't realize it was in my pocket, and it went through the wash. And it was a crystal. Oh, it was a white crystal, and just the very tip of it broke off. But I'm okay with that. The crystal and I had a talk. I promised I would never do that again and check my pockets, because I'm like a 10-year-old boy with stuff in my pockets all the time now, and rocks and Lord knows what else. But it's funny because with that tiny little piece missing, it kind of seems like it's amplified the point to me. It's almost like it was too pointed, and so maybe like a thin stream of energy was coming out, and now it like opened it up a little bit, like a sunroof type of thing. I seem to feel more energy coming out of it. So I don't know. I'm just kind of letting that one play out and see what happens, because that one's fairly new to me. It's the pineapple crystal that I brought in and showed you.
I'm glad you said that, because I just found one of mine over here on the shelf. It probably tipped over and the tip broke. And I just noticed the other day, I was like, oh, I was kind of bummed. But I will use what you're saying there, that it's actually being able to disperse more into the room now. So thank you for that. That makes me feel better about that stone. I would never get rid of that stone, but there have been broken things that have broken that I was guided to set aside for whatever reason. And then I was invited to some kind of a ceremonial thing out at the beach with some women one year. And those stones were like, take me, because we were going to do like a burial in the beach in the sand. of whatever, and I was guided to take those broken pieces and gift it back to the earth out there during that ceremony. So I've had both things happen. Like things will break, and then I chipped one of my favorite little pieces of rose quartz that I love using in sessions, and I dropped it. It was on a tile floor, and it, whoop, there went one of the things. But I still use it. Maybe the same way, Deb. I'm thinking it's giving out more. It's got a broken part that it's letting.
Yeah, I'm
more
not
energy
sure
out.
what it means, but they're so resilient and resistant. The hardness of them varies too, depending on what they're made of. But I just think it's so fascinating, and that something that has survived for how long, millions of years, thousands of years, whatever, and now all of a sudden it breaks. So what brought that about? There's got to be something behind it.
Yeah, I had a piece of amethyst that I was carrying break, and this was when I was first starting to work with stones. So I'm carrying it, and it almost felt like something pulled it out of my hand.
Oh.
It hit the floor and shattered. So I got on the internet, looked it up, like, what does this mean? And it said kind of some of the same stuff. If that the stone, it's probably done its job, and at this point, it's wants to retire. So yeah, I still have it. I'm trying to. I like that idea of going somewhere and burying it and kind of gifting it back to the earth. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do feel like it's done. So it's not for me anymore. Gifting it back.
And I know, like, when it comes to cleansing stones, when we do talk about that, there are some stones that actually should be buried in the earth to be cleansed. So
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah, we were going to talk a little bit, I think, about different ways to cleanse, and that is a good way. Is it more the grounding stones that you do that with, or do you have any examples?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I've got a long list of them in a book at home that I've been working on and trying to, the stones I own and what to do with them. And I tend to write the meanings of them down and things. There's a couple of great sites out there online. One is called the Crystal Council. They're great. It's got, it is a plethora of knowledge out there, and it does have the stone meanings as well as chakras that it's linked to. It also has what the stones are made of, their science, their origin, and it will give you some tips into cleansing and things like that. But there's a lot of different sites out there as well with some of that information. But other ones, it seems like the more brightly they shine, like the quartz crystals and those types of calcite crystals, they like sunlight or moonlight. And whereas some of the other ones that are maybe a little bit duller like to be under the earth. So I'd have to look at that. Maybe that's something we can throw in at some point as a bonus if anyone wants to know.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that with the selenite. You would never put that underwater, but most of the hard stones, like the quartzes and those kind of things, you can run underwater easily.
And it is important to get the feeling from the stones and figure out what your intention is, but look them up and do see what they're made of, because like malachite, for instance, generally has arsenic in it. It's not a stone that if you've got an animal, it's going to eat your rocks, and most of them are smart enough to stay away from that. And you should always wash your hands after you're done using it. And there are other stones that shouldn't go in water because they contain aluminum. So like when people start making elixirs and tonics and things like that with them, you don't want to use that rock directly in the water. Like me with my bands, my little wristbands here that I put around my bottle, or you can just do a glass inside a glass and let those energies absorb into the water. So, but you definitely don't want to be sucking down more aluminum than you need, or arsenic, or any of some of these other things that they're made of. Do some research on it. See what they're made of. A lot of them are silica. They're not something you want to breathe in a lot. So yeah, it's worth doing a little bit of research, and you don't have to be a gemologist or to do all this stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's one of the reasons I put the topic in here is I do clean the stones every once in a while, but do know what the stone is made of, so that when you do go to cleanse it, It's not like you always cleanse everything in water or you always
Right.
cleanse everything with salt.
Or sage or Palo
Yeah,
Santo or any of
it
those
depends
things. Yeah.
partly on how you're feeling and
Yeah.
how you might want to use it versus like what that stone is actually made up of. Can it get wet? And are you going to damage it
Yeah.
or change the properties of it? Because I think malachite also is one of those you don't get wet or you shouldn't get wet
Right.
because it's got copper in it. It's got metal.
Yeah.
So it's going to...
Yeah, some of the iron stones, you don't want to put those. Actually, I think a lot of the iron-based stones, like the hematites and I want to say larvicite, but I'm not sure if that's it, larvicite. Those are better in the earth if they're iron-based or like copper-based, like you said. Yeah.
Right.
It's going to affect them in a bad way.
Or just set them on some white selenite.
Absolutely, selenite is the ultimate.
Or with
answer.
it.
Yes, selenite board or
You mentioned
tablet.
before sunlight, which also I would imagine some of them you got to be careful.
Yes.
Sunlight may trigger,
It can
you know,
dull.
a change.
Yeah, it can
Amethyst,
change.
it may dull amethyst. It can dull rose quartz. People that have rose quartz and they wear it for a long time and they're like, why is it looking so dull? You know, okay, it might still have the properties, but it also might mean you need to go shopping again. Buy yourself something else.
Yeah, some of those, like, you don't want to leave it on a windowsill
Right.
necessarily, but if you want to leave it out for an hour or two in the sunlight, I think that
Yeah.
would be okay. But
2 to 3
some
hours
of
is
them-
what I've been reading most. But also,
Yeah.
there's moonlight. Moonlight isn't going to harm them
Right,
at all.
moonlight is good.
Some stones are connected more to sunlight, like carnelian and sunstone, and some of them are going to be more moonlight, like moonstone. You don't want to put moonstone in the sunlight. So
But if you think about it, what is moonlight?
exactly, it's
Sunlight just reflected off the moon.
exactly.
So,
Yes.
Yeah. So just, you know, cleanse them. For the stones that can get wet, what I'll do at times is I take them with me if I go to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, put them out. Because now you're getting salt water, so you're getting the
Yeah.
cleansing property of salt as well as the water. Plus just nature, being back out in nature.
Yep. And if you're not near a beach, get some sea salt. Put a little bit in, and you can dip it in there. I've done that with some of mine because I'm too lazy to go to the beach. I live 10 minutes away from, but I'll have salt water, and I have to clean my crystals. Dip it in there, wipe it off, and I would say too, don't throw all your crystals in a bowl and just hose them off. Be respectful of them. They can be your friends,
Yeah.
and also it depends on whether they're set in jewelry too. Some of them that are set in jewelry, you're not going to want to get wet or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, or like an opals are very delicate.
Yeah,
Like-
opals like water. Opals are
Yeah.
good in water, but
But
you
not
don't
a
want to put them in
cleanser.
sunlight. Yes,
Yeah, you know, like
exactly.
the-
Yeah. No
Yeah.
cleansers or soaps. They don't need that type of thing. Sometimes just wiping them off with a gentle rag.
Well, and like you said, Lisa, selenite.
Yeah.
They can all go on a piece of selenite.
Yeah.
And also, I think your intention.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Just holding them and, you know, you're putting your intention in there of just, okay, you know, let's cleanse out any unneeded energy that you're holding.
Well, we're all Reiki practitioners, the three of
Yes.
us, and a lot of times I will be doing level 1 Reiki is just Reiki, but you can do a level 2 where you get some Reiki symbols. And as I'm doing a water cleanse, let's say, I'm just running it under the running faucet, but I'm touching it, I'm flowing Reiki, and I'm saying certain symbols
Right.
to the crystal to help clear it, and then to like energize it and seal it back up with a new intention. Or just if it's a pretty stone I have in the office, I'm just having gratitude for it, and I'm using the Reiki that way too.
Yeah.
So.
We talked a little bit about before of like gifting the stones and, you know, finding you have it, but now you feel like it needs to go on to the next person. And another thing I wanted to just talk about briefly is, should you let others hold your stones, hold your crystals? And the reason I bring that up is I was at an event, and somebody had brought in a crystal that they were showing people, and a couple people wanted to hold the crystal because, as we said, sometimes you feel things off of it. And there was another person in the room said, "Oh, don't do that! Don't let anybody touch your crystals." And I don't know. I share. We bring things in when, like meditation night or something, and let everybody, you know, touch it and feel it and see what they get off of it. And also, I've done a couple of times where I've used a crystal doing psychometry. So I'll have the person hold the stone, think about whatever their question is, and then give the stone back to me, and I read off of that. So I don't see a problem letting people, handle the stones. Again, they come from the earth. We're only temporary holders of it.
Yeah.
It belongs to everybody.
I think if we're confident in our cleansing ability and our intentions to the stone, if it's something that, again, is just in our space versus something we work with, I think if we're confident in that and know that, there are bad people doing bad things, right?
Yeah,
so you think some people may want to try to, do something bad to your stone or something, or put up bad juju on it or whatever. I get that. I understand what they're saying there. But if you have the power to undo that and just clean it, which I think you would want to do anyways if you pass it around to the group, then you're going to want to cleanse it of all those energies and make it back with your energy anyway. So I don't think there's a problem with that either, although as you're saying that today, I'm going to say, if it was my pendulum, maybe not.
I think that, I think that's different because your energy is imbued in, you need that as a working tool.
Yeah, and I think the pendulum's telling me, no.
Right.
I don't think it's actually me, actually.
No.
I think it's my pendulum going, if you got me out around the crowd, I would not want you passing me around.
Yeah.
I think it's more my pendulum speaking to me than me talking to the pendulum.
I think so. I think our stones know how to take care of themselves. They've been doing it for millions of years, and they're not shuddering in the corner going, don't touch me, don't touch me. But unless someone's planning on throwing the stone at me, I'm good with them handling it because I will cleanse it. And even if it's one that does absorb negativity, that's its job. And it absorbs. It doesn't pass it along. Generally, they absorb the negativity and it transmutes it. So, or holds it, but doesn't give it out. I can't think of too many stones that project negativity. I know there's some that will amplify it, like Epidote, which is a stone that everybody's crazy for right now. You're going to see it out there. It's all over the place, and especially at the gem show I was just at. Epidote, there's tons of it around. It is a huge amplifier. Well, not only does it amplify what's great in your life, but if you're having a crap day carrying that around, I guess that it amplifies whatever it is. Its job is just to amplify. It doesn't differentiate between good and bad.
Wow.
So, there's a couple of them like that. But it's not intentionally doing anything. So I think it's okay to do that. My stones know me and they will take care of themselves and take care of me for as long as they're in my rental ownership, whatever. What am I fostering them, I guess, until they decide to go elsewhere?
I think there are people out there, though, that would not want people touching their stuff. And, it's okay. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But as far as any reasoning behind it, if you're able to feel strong in your cleansing ability and and just, but I get it. I get that they might not want.
If it's someone that, doesn't have good intention, why would you give them this stuff anyways, I mean, I think there's other objects that can be so-called cursed or hexed or bad intention imbued with them and given out. But, I think that if you have a sense of who this person is, or if you're able to intuit, which we all pretty much are, we can kind of pick up on that. There's some people that I might not say, I really, no, it's just, it needs to live right here on my, on my necklace or my jewelry or whatever, but, and I can't picture that person actually asking me for something. But I think it depends on your boundaries too. Whatever your boundaries are that you're comfortable with. If you don't want people touching your stuff, that's fine, I guess. But I don't think, like you said, it's going to actually harm the object or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just in my opinion.
And what I found interesting as we're discussing this, we've gone back to a couple of previous episodes. In boundaries.
Yep.
That's part of, in all of this and our journeys and evolving in who we are and becoming better versions of who we are, is learning the boundaries and setting the boundaries.
Yeah.
And going back to where you were saying you're confident that you can clean it, that was another intention of the podcast, or as we put this together, is to talk about these topics, but also help people understand they're empowered
Right.
and
Yeah.
don't have to be, victims of negative energy or whatever.
Mhm.
So if you give it to somebody, and maybe they don't have the best of intentions,
Right.
you completely have the option then to clean it.
Right. Right.
And
You don't
So-
have to let people do things to your
Yes.
stuff, and you don't have to accept that. That's the thing. And is it good or is it bad? There's our good and bad episode too.
Right.
It's all going to tie in.
Yeah.
All these things do. They're not. These are just chapters of the same book.
Yeah, they're not standalones.
Right,
They're meant to
right.
be used
Yes.
and interchanged and all that.
Yeah.
As I'm going to wrap back around to what we were talking about for cleansing, because I forgot one other thing is sound.
Oh yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
You
yes.
can use, just music that you enjoy, or a crystal bowl, or a Tibetan bowl. Like you can use
Tuning
different
fork.
tuning forks. There's tons of different ways with
Bells.
sound.
Outdoor, the
bells.
chimes.
Yeah, the chimes.
Mhm.
All of that. So that's another good way that's good for all stones. It doesn't matter, like it's not like water where you got to be careful. All stones, because it's a frequency.
Yeah, and
enjoy.
they do vibrate at certain hertz or megahertz, which
Mm-hmm.
I can't go into that science, but they do. And I mean, we use them now for stones for communication. NASA uses them. We
Clear
all
quartz.
use them.
Clear quartz in your
quartz.
watch.
Yeah,
That's what they
absolutely.
started
And
to
there's
use.
that TV quartz that they call it, or TV calcite, which is really cool.
The fiber optic you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of. I mean, this stuff is used. It's conductive. It has energy. So, yeah.
And as far as how often, I think you might have touched on this, David, but really just whenever you think of it, or if you want to get on a schedule, you can definitely do
Yeah.
it. Like there's always as needed.
Yeah,
But
and you can just say a prayer over them. Ask your
Right.
guardian angels or whoever to,
Mhm.
step in or just bless them, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that, whenever, like I know when I'm wearing my certain necklace that I've put together certain gems that help me stay calm at work and just, increase my focus. And they're just a combination of stones that I put together. After my work week, I go home and set that thing on selenite. I'm like, oh, you've worked hard, honey. You need a little rest. You need some cleansing. Let's give you a nice clean selenite bath and let you jump back into work, because they're not only absorbing my energy, but whoever else's and the surroundings and the lights even and whatever else. So yeah, I like to give them a little break after my work week. Give them a good cleanse.
And a quick question, this just popped into my mind. Do you have a preference for tumbled or raw stones?
I have a mixture of them. In sessions, it's mostly tumbled or, ones that are smoother or cut into a shape. I have some like Merkabas and different ones that are sacred geometry shapes I like to use. But then the ones that are more display items are mostly the raw stones. Although, I have both over there. But for the most part, I think the tumbled are more used in sessions, and the raw ones are just in the space.
I'm working with doing some jewelry making now and coming up with some ideas to do things and meditation pieces and stuff like that. But I've been getting the beads and from different sources and putting them together in different combinations, trying to intuit what somebody may need. I have a friend I know what issues that she has, not all of them. So for some of those issues, I'm using a very generic bead on some jewelry that I'm doing for her, along with some others that I know she will resonate with according to what she has going on. And then there's just some other ones. Tumbled stones are easy to carry around. They go in pockets or purses or whatever. But now for around the house, I'm getting more into specimen pieces. And I'm starting kind of smallish. I think they're going to get bigger and bigger as time goes on. But I'm enjoying them more in their more natural form. And I'm not about to start tumbling because, I got to stop somewhere. But I'm starting to, I want to kind of imbue the house more with the larger pieces. The small pieces are fine, but I don't even know where to put them all to display them. It's getting overwhelming. Everywhere you're literally tripping over a stone. And I have pets. I don't want them swallowing things. So.
Yeah. I have some that are polished or tumbled, in different shapes, but do prefer the raw. And I that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, in that I like to appreciate them for what they are and how they formed, and what conditions had to be met for that stone to now exist. And in the raw form, I can appreciate that more because I can see the is it bubble shaped, or is it more crystalline and what's the word I'm looking for?
Like jagged
or
or
spear-like,
spear-like,
yeah,
and that,
yeah.
So I think in raw form I can appreciate that more for that particular stone.
It's so funny too, because I always picture these stones as being dug out of the ground in a lot of ways, and I go back to Herkimer Diamond days, because that's I grew up near Herkimer, and that was every school field trip. Every once a year you go and dig for diamonds, and we just didn't think of them as anything, and they're actually really energetic, powerful stones. I wish I had some of those now, but I'm planning a trip for that. But you're having to dig them and chip them out of stone and stuff, but when the crystal caves in Mexico that they have found that actually generate so much heat, you can only be in there for 10, 15 minutes at a time, and they have to wear special suits. And these gemstones under the earth are those great big long spears. And it's like, how does that happen? And they're caves full of this. It's not like there's a lot of dirt around them that they had to chip away. They discovered these caves. You can walk in there, and these things are immense. They're like tractor trailer size and bigger of these things. You just can't be in there very long. I can only imagine what that energy would feel like. I think I'd explode in a million pieces. But it's interesting that the air is so toxic down there, and the temperature is so hot from these crystals, and they're still forming like crazy. So part of me would love to see that at some point. And there are plenty I just saw documentaries on it recently, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what would that be like? But yeah, for 10 minutes it'd be great, and then you die.
Anything else that you were thinking of regarding?
No, I think it's the type of thing we could go on and on and on about
Yep.
forever. And do they, what stones correlate to spirit guides or help you talk to them, and angels, and the different forms of them used in rosaries and all sorts of other religious formats, that someone who may be like, oh, I'm not metaphysical, but I do have a rosary made of such and such and such, and malas, and so they're used in so many different ways. And I just think it's fascinating to look into. And if anybody has any other interesting information that they want to put forth, or uses that they have, elixirs or a lot of these things that are out there now, let us know.
Yeah, we talked about our 3 favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Put in the comments, what are some of your favorites?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And let us know how you work with them. So, say, are you using a stone that maybe doesn't meet what the written information about it says, but you found another way to use it? That'd be fascinating to hear how they resonate with different people and what they use it for.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Hope you found this interesting as we went through and talked about crystals and our experiences with them, the type of crystals that we tend to use, how we use them. Clean. As we mentioned, if you have comments or other stones that you appreciate, definitely put it in the comment section. Let us know. So thank you, and make it a great day. Thanks.